Good evening. Welcome to the February 4th Milford Planning and Zoning meeting. I'd like to ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's have roll call from the left.
Brian Collegian.
Nancy Austin.
Carl S. Moore.
Bob Sadie.
John Mortimer. Jim Cater.
Peggy Kearney.
And I'm Jim Quish, and we have Meg Green and David Solkis representing the city. Our first order of business is 840 Orinoco Road, Zone HDD, petition of Kimberly Pitchard for a coastal site plan review for addition of a cooling unit to the existing Milford compressor station on map 73, block 927, parcel 1A and 1B, of which Iroquois Gas Transmission Systems LP is the owner. If you would please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Robert Perlis with Iroquois Gas, 1 Corporate Drive, Shelton, Connecticut, 06484.
Thank you. You are welcome to present your application in any manner you see fit.
All right. Well, good evening, Commissioners. My name, again, is Robert Perlis with Iroquois Gas Transmission. And to my right is Ruth Parkins, our Director of Corporate Governance, and Michael Kinnick, our Director of Engineering. So if there's questions that I cannot answer, they will certainly be able to. Before you, you have a coastal site plan review for a project that we're undertaking. This past Friday, we filed the project with the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is the lead agency on this project. We own a 4-acre site, which is on the poster board before you, where we have an existing compressor station. As part of this project, we're proposing to put in gas cooling at these facilities. The gas coolers will be approximately 15 feet tall and approximately 40 by 60 feet in dimensions. They will be located within the grass area, within the existing property line of this facility, and all the construction will take place within this 4-acre site. With that, I will open it up to questions from the
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Mr. Sadie.
Thank you. Good evening. Did you get a chance to see the city engineer's report today before you made your presentation?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I have a couple of questions relating to that. It's not paginated, but I think it's his recommendations and observations. The first one is that he was concerned about the sanitary sewer lateral connection.
I'm sorry?
He was concerned about the sanitary sewer lateral connection. If you could have somebody address that, please.
Certainly, there'll be no change to the sanitary facilities.
There currently is an existing control building that has a restroom. We're not expanding that or changing that, so there's not going to be any change to the sanitary sewer.
But what he did indicate is that it's not been on the plans you provided. There's been no indication on the plans. Do they not have to be on the plans or not? I just
For what we're doing here, we didn't feel it was necessary to add that to the plans.
Secondly, he had a concern just following that about the concrete curb, sidewalks, and driveway apron have not been identified in the plans. Could you comment about that concern that he had?
The pavement area is on the plans. There isn't any additional, the only thing we're adding is a small patch of asphalt in front of where the coolers are going to go. The rest of that area is not changing.
And then just getting away to the plan for a minute, I have a concern if you could address how much noise is going to be generated by the
coolers?
project that you're talking about.
The FERC gives us strict guidance on the level of noise we're allowed to emit from the station, which is 55 LDN, which is the day-night DBA, day-night, the average over the 24-hour period, the day-night average. So we won't be exceeding that. FERC wouldn't grant us our certificate if we were exceeding that.
In the last area, he had two recommendations, one of which really is that there should be a survey prepared by a Connecticut licensed surveyor. If we approve this plan, would you agree to that?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any other questions? I have a couple questions. Is this gas coming, it's coming from Canada, is that correct?
That's correct.
And is this fracked gas?
You cannot really differentiate the molecules.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, you cannot differentiate the molecules that go across the system, just like the electrons that light our lights here. We can't tell if it was from a nuclear plant or a wind farm or a solar farm. Yes, the majority or a good portion of the gas that is probably utilized in the Northeast is from fracked wells. There's a small portion that comes from Western Canada, but in recent years, because of the proliferation of fracked gas or of production in the Appalachia region, we're seeing more fracked gas in this area. It's hard to say, they're not color-coded, so it's hard to say exactly what percentage it is, but I would say it's the majority on any given day is in anywhere in the Northeast, from Pennsylvania to Maine, is primarily fracked gas.
Thank you. And how much does this extra compression and obviously the cooling required to compress it, how much more gas passes through Milford in a given day?
So this project is for 125,000 decatherms, which is probably on a peak day is a little less than 10% of our volume. So an increase of approximately 10% across the system on a peak day. On a non-peak day, they may utilize none of it, but primarily you'll see this gas flow on the coldest of days in the winter, and then it'll be available for power plants or other entities to utilize during the summer. But the project is being built for the shippers of this project, Con Edison and National Grid.
Thank you. And can you speak to what is lost in, say, a given mile of pipeline in terms of, methane or some, what is actually leaked out? And a follow-up question would be how much additional, because of the increased pressure, has potential for leaking?
Yeah, that's a tricky question because really none. I mean, if you're looking for leaks over our pipeline is welded. There is no mechanical fittings buried. So the only real spots you can get leakage like that is in a facility and where you have a mechanical connection. We do annual leak surveys on the main line. We have gas detectors inside the building to detect for leaks.
So is the added pressure that this gas will be under, will that create more potential leaks?
No, it's not. We're not adding pressure. The project itself, so at Milford, we're only adding the cooling. Upstream of Milford, at 3 other sites, we are adding compression. But what we're really doing is bringing the pressure back up. So as the capacity gets taken away, it's dropping the pressure. We're just bringing the pressure back up to our operating pressure. So our maximum allowable operating pressure is 1,440 pounds. We're not exceeding that. This project's not going to change that.
But you did tout in your explanation that you were somewhat reducing potential environmental impact and methane capture.
Because we are installing methane capture units.
So that's really only where you're adding pressure in different sites. Here you're just cooling.
No, actually we're adding them here as well. So we are. If you look at the application, there's what's called a hydrocarbon abatement system. There's 2 small units that are getting next to the existing the compressor buildings. There's 2 small buildings that are going to house a unit where we can capture normal vents. So when our operations staff goes in to do maintenance and they got to relieve the gas out of the line, the standard practice today is to vent that to atmosphere, that gas. With these units, we're going to re-inject it back into the pipe. So there'll be less methane emissions at the site.
Now, am I correct in assuming that we are not adding pressure in Milford, just cooling?
Milford is just cooling.
Okay.
Yep, I think you can see it.
Could you, that mic actually travels, I think. And this is really just because we're capturing everything you say for the record.
Yep, no problem. All right, thank you. The orientation is flipped on these two drawings here, but these are the existing compressor units. This is the existing control building. Our 3D rendering here, this is the control building, the two existing compressor buildings, and then the new gas coolers will go down here, which will be in this grass field right here. These two smaller buildings here are going to house that hydrocarbon recovery system that we talked about.
Great, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Mr. Castigdoli?
How close is your closest neighbor?
Approximately 800 feet,
800 feet?
roughly,
Is that a residence?
yes.
Okay. Is that a neighborhood of residences?
Actually, across the street would be the nearest business. The transfer yard is across the street, and Southern Connecticut Gas's LNG facility is across the street. They would probably
Okay.
be the closest to us. Yeah.
But the nearest resident is approximately 800 feet.
Is that Baldwin Station?
Are those the condos off of Orinoco Road?
Okay. All right, I know where it is, okay. Where are the condos on that map? I can't,
Yeah. So the condo's just to the north of the project, but there's one resident, which Michael pointed out to you.
oh, those are the condos up in the corner? Okay, where's the facility? Over there across from the LNG tank? Transfer station. So you have Lexington Green over here, you have Baldwin Station down the road, okay. Will they be able to hear this? No?
We're required to meet that 55 dBA FERC limit. So we've already done pre-noise surveys. So we know what the existing noise level is there, which we're under the 55. And then what we'll do is post-construction, the FERC will require us to go out and do a follow-up noise survey to ensure that we're under that 55 level.
Okay, and if it's not, if it's over that,
We're out of compliance with the FERC. We'll be forced to fix it,
force the what?
to fix it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'd hear a motion.
I just had a quick question if staff had any comment.
The only comment I have is that this is a CAM application, which means that the board should be looking at this for adverse environmental impacts. Because it's a utility, it's actually exempt from zoning. So like the rest of us, including the government's not exempt from CAM in either of the utilities, so that's why they're here.
And I will add to that there is no impact to the Housatonic River and the coastal area management of this. We're approximately 600 feet away from the Housatonic River, and that's why we're before you today. But there will be no impact, no drainage to the river, no impact whatsoever.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'd hear a motion. Mr. Sadi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve with the following conditions the petition of Kimberly Pritchard for a coastal site plan review for addition of a cooling unit to the existing Milford compressor station on map 73, block 927, parcel 1A and 1B, of which Iroquois Gas Transmission System LLP is owner, with the following conditions: that a properly Connecticut licensed survey be done by a Connecticut licensed surveyor for purposes of this particular motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next order of business is a public hearing to be closed by March 10th and voted by May 14th, 2020. 16 Stowe Ave, Zone CDD2, petition of William Myers for a special permit and coastal site plan review to construct a new single-family dwelling on map 13, block 140, parcel 2A, of which Christian Switzer is the owner. Hi there. If you would just state your name and address for the record, please.
William Myers, 35 Richard Street, Milford, Connecticut, 06460.
Andrew Flanagan, 1460 New Haven Avenue, Milford, Connecticut. I'm the land surveyor that prepared the plan before you.
Thank you. Go ahead and tell us what you're proposing.
We're proposing to build a single-family residency. We've gotten a variance to build. It's a non-conforming lot, but it's a unique situation. We're going to be building 2 cantilever decks off the back of the house on the water-facing side. We removed a existing that we demolished the existing house that got damaged in Hurricane Irene and Sandy. And we were removing, there was an existing overhang that was on the seawall. We're removing that, bringing the cantilever decks back 6 feet. There won't be any piers or anything, so they'll be cantilevered on the house themselves. It's going to be elevated within FEMA regulations. It'll be 9 feet off the ground on piers because it's in a VE zone. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to.
Great, thank you. David, would you comment?
Yeah, the applicant is proposing to construct a new single-family dwelling in the same location as the existing dwelling. The property has a pre-existing non-conforming second dwelling on it. That's number 14 Stowe Avenue. The applicant obtained a variance for the distance between the 2 dwellings per section 3.1.7.4.3 subsection 4. The deck is 19.1 feet from the mean high water line, and the house is 24.2 feet from the mean high water line, which is the reason for the special permit. There appears to be no adverse impact on coastal resources.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Sadi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We received most of the paperwork. I appreciate that, but a little bit confused about the administrative summary indicates that there was 2 buildings on the property, or is there 2 different properties that are adjoining to each other?
It's actually 2 buildings on the same property.
Okay.
It's shared. There's a cottage on the property, which is number 14, and it's shared by the people that are next door, which is number 10. Is it? Number 10. They own half of the cottage, and the other owner is Christian Switzer, which is part of the property that we're building the house on. It's a very unique piece of property.
And following up on that, how many parking spots do you expect to be able to have there? I understand you're not required to have a specific line, but approximately how many cars could be parked in there? If you could just explain that. And then also, I wasn't clear, was there a garage being proposed here?
What will happen is there'll be parking underneath the house because it's going to be elevated. Okay. It'll be on piers. So the piers will actually, there'll be parking, there'll be 2 cars underneath the house. There's a driveway, an existing driveway now along the cottage, which will turn into the new house, and there'll be two cars be able to park off-street.
And on that particular street, is there off-site parking allowed? I mean, on-street parking allowed, excuse me.
Yes, there is. Yes, you can park on street also.
And do you share a common driveway with, I guess, number 14? Is that what you're telling us?
The cottage is part of number 10's property. It's very unique. I guess back when the house was when they were originally built, the same owners owned both parcels, and they split it between family members, and that's how it became that way. But there's a right-of-way because there's utilities on the cottage that the other parcel has. You know, there's gas, there's electric on the cottage itself.
And the last thing is, I'm assuming you saw the city engineer's report?
I did not actually know.
No, okay.
Can we get him a copy of that
Yes,
and have him read it and give him a minute?
sure. Hold on one second. Just make sure it's the right one. Yes, no, there you go. There you go. Yep.
Do you wish to comment on anything that's in there, or I just want to make you aware of it, so if we ask questions about it, you'll...
Yeah, I don't see anything that, it's a couple things we can add to the plans, clarify, and as such, I don't see any adverse impact or
Okay.
anything that would be detrimental to developing the property.
Is there any other questions before we open up the public hearing? Seeing none, we will open up the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak in favor of this project, please come up to the podium now. Seeing none, if anyone would like to speak against this project, please come up. Seeing none, is there any reason any one of the board members sees why we should keep this public hearing open? David, would you like to comment before we close the public hearing?
No, there's really nothing to really add. No.
Okay. Seeing no objection, we will close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone see a reason why we shouldn't vote on this tonight? Seeing none, I would hear a motion. Go ahead. Bob?
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve with the following conditions, the petition of 16 Stowe Avenue. Move to approve with the following conditions, petition of William Myers for a special permit and coastal site plan review to construct a new single-family dwelling on map 13, block 140, Parcel 2A, of which Christian Switzer is the owner, with the following condition: that plans be revised to indicate clearly the existing concrete driveway apron, and whether it's the intent to maintain the existing apron. Plans revised to indicate the existing centerline grade of Stowe Avenue at the driveway apron, and plans revised to indicate proposed soil erosion and sediment control measures. These would be recommendations 2, 3, and 4 found on page 3 of the city engineer's report.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion and second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Next order of business is liaison reports. Is there any liaison reports tonight? None. Subcommittee reports. We had meetings of both the Regulations Subcommittee and the Plan of Conservation and Development. We will expect from the Regulations Subcommittee from time to time, kind of in bulk, maybe 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 minor changes, sort of like just housekeeping. If there's some conflicts between regulations, staff is going to put together periodically lists of things so that we can just clean up our regulations. In addition to that, the committee will undertake finding some things that we feel should be changed or added to our book of regulations, and those will come to you more or less one at a time. Not always, maybe there'll be more than one, but they will be sort of a little bit more meat on the bone on those. The Plan of Conservation and Development, we will be posting agendas and minutes in the Dropbox, so anyone can look at it, and everyone is welcome to come in or welcome to contribute ideas. We do have to worry about having a quorum on a subcommittee, so that is 7. So we can't have 7 members at it, but and you'll know which actual subject we're talking about, whether it's wetlands or whether it's looking at Milford Center Design District and seeing if those regs are right or if they need to be changed. So you'll be able to see what's coming up, and if you have a specific interest, you're all welcome to come in. I think we should probably just go through David to make sure that we don't have a quorum beforehand if you have an interest in that particular meeting. But agendas and minutes will be available in the Dropbox, so you can just sort of keep up with that. Next order of business is approval of minutes. Do we have a motion? Peg, second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none. Chair's report is quick. Last meeting I signed a lot consolidation, which is just staff comes up with a fix to a problem that's very minor and has no real impact on abutting property owners. And so I signed 347 Welchers Point Road last meeting. And I just have to state that for the record. Staff report.
Yeah, just to let everyone know that in the current Dropbox that you have, it has all of the minutes of the subcommittees. So you can take a look at them. And they may have been distributed in your packages, I don't know. But I know they're definitely in the Dropbox.
Great. Okay, thank you. Any issues or thoughts from any members of the board? Seeing none, we're adjourned.